Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the final day of Law 2.0 and Money 2.0 conference. Just like the past 2 days, day 3 is also packed with engaging sessions by the global leaders of the industry. Before starting the day, I would like to extend my gratitude to our title sponsor, Weekly Real Estate News, and also our silver sponsor, Mindful Media PR and Swan Virtual Family Office. Your amazing support has made this event successful, and for that, we are extremely grateful. Now, without taking any more of your time, let's begin up the first session. The financial services space has a lot to look forward to with 5G. In the future, consumers will expect low latency and high bandwidth everywhere they go. This means that banking will become more convenient with high-speed data. This fireside chat will center around what 5G means for mobile banking, personal finance, cybersecurity regulations, and other fintech innovations. Please join me in welcoming this session's speakers, Ms. Mary L. Jones, CEO and Housing Financial Literacy Senior Advisor at AGORA Community Services Corporation, NFP, and Robert Krauss, Chairman and CEO of Demand Derivatives, I believe, who will share their thoughts on the future of financial services. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you. Am I on? There we go. Okay. Mary?
Well, good morning, everyone, and out there in the world listening to Law 2.0, Law and Finance. I am going to speak with you regarding an area of law and finance, and my associate, Fireside, Mr. Robert, will tell you about another side. My name again is Mary Jones. I'm with a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. Wonder how that fits in there, right? Well, we're going to explain it to you shortly.
Great. So, yes, and my name is Bob Krauss, and I'm with Demand Derivatives. And we are a startup in the derivative space. Derivatives are futures and options generally. And so we'd like to talk to you about that. But I'll let you go first.
All right. I started in finance a while ago. I think I might have been 25. And my concern, am I too loud? Okay, thank you. So I started with a joy and an interest in finance very early, and then I captured another passion, and that was assisting other people to understand the path in finance that starts as soon as you leave home. And if you're with a real awesome family, it's before you leave home. So we're talking about finance in the future as it deals with technology. Technology today is moving very fast, and I don't have to tell you guys that. However, it does require us to adjust our lives. So my contribution to that is to help individuals start early. So we're talking about the young adults coming out of college, even high school, seniors, juniors and seniors in high school, our college students, getting their feet on the path to financial understanding and interest, as well as the legal side as well. We're not going to talk a lot about the legal because I'm not an attorney, but I want them to know exactly how important it is that you do have a portfolio that includes a good understanding of finance and law. Law connects with the housing counseling, and we've changed our names to housing advisors now because the whole point is to catch the problem before it becomes a crisis. If we catch it before it becomes a crisis, then we're able to really strategize with that client and make sure that client is prepared. And they must be prepared for also the technical side of it. Don't you agree? If they're not connected to the technical side, then they're not going to be able to keep up. And we have to keep up, right? So the financial part is included in housing advising. And it's so that there is a unique and missing focus on how finances directly relate to housing? How does it relate to increasing your financial capacity? Everyone has one. Everyone has a current financial capacity, right? If I were to ask everyone out there to just sit there and say, what is my financial capacity? I would like to know what that answer would be, and we will help you strategize to make sure and give you the points to make sure that you understand how to even understand what your financial capacity is. Once you know that, then you're able to say, okay, this is what I want to do, or this is the financial capacity I need to start working on, because that's where it's going to lead to what Robert will present to you. We have to have a foundation in everything. So we make sure that, yes, we're housing advisors, but housing is the one thing that has to be part of our energy every day. There's three things to life that we must focus on to just make sure we got them covered no matter what. And that is food, clothing, and housing. Well, we haven't done what we need to do with housing in this country, and we're working on it. But we have captured every possible way to get people food, to get people clothing. No one is going naked. No one's starving here in the United States. We got that down pat. So my mission is to put as much focus on how to make sure that you're using your finances for your future.
Very nice, Mary. And so we are, as I said, a startup. And we're starting a new futures exchange to trade generally commodities of some kind. But it also extends into the financial world, like currencies or stock indexes, things like that. But let me step back for a minute and just give you a little lay of the land, so to speak. So Mary's working in a very, in a way, small area, because it relates to individual people, trying to get them housing, etc. We're working in a very big industry, usually with institutions and industrial hedgers and things like that. And so we're almost on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But how big are derivatives? And to give you some perspective, futures exchanges transact $15 trillion every day. That's like 10,000 Amazons every day. That's like all the money in the world every 2 weeks. It's a crazy big business. And it kind of makes sense, because when you're talking about futures, we're talking about, hedging or price risk, price discovery in just about everything that touches you. All kinds of food stuff, all kinds of energy, stocks, bonds, foreign currencies, all of those things, coffee, sugar, cocoa, like all kinds of different commodities, they're all traded on an exchange. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange is the largest exchange in the world, and they have a near monopoly in the US with a 91% market share. This number 2 exchange, the ICE or Intercontinental Exchange, has about an 8% market share. Those are the guys that own the New York Stock Exchange. So there's some very big players in this market, and we're a startup going after this new business. And so even if we're marginally successful, I think we could be a very big success just because of the size of the market.
And Robert, you know that there are so many people that might not understand, but I believe that there are people that want to be able to understand. So we also, I did a lot in the early years, but we had a study group for the stock market, and we worked with options, and we didn't really do a lot in the futures, but we did study it. We studied options because, one, I like the word. You have an option. But when I go back to the basics, it's the understanding that has to be obtained to know that you can do it. So if we started the study group regarding options and the stock market, how did it work? Because it does affect us. The stock market affects everyone. So we want to know how that will affect our lives so that if we want to grow into it, we can get there. And that's anyone that's not in the stock market right now. I believe that it is something that will never go away. So we might as well learn how to position ourselves and our future unique. I always go back to our future, which is our children. Make sure that they understand how important it is to get that knowledge concerning options and futures, because it's something that will affect their lives. And it's an inheritance that we're going to pass down. So the options, uh, because I like the word, actually will connect with life in general, because you're going to be making decisions. This option, when do I buy? When do I sell? How do I get involved in options? And connecting with those individuals that can help you get connected and understand how to actually begin using it and being involved. So the options are interesting to me too, because it does give me an opportunity to kind of be in control of my life to some degree, because you have the option to do this or the option to do that, but you have to know exactly what it is going to be the end result. Now that's a very simple, because I reach people, like Robert said, individuals that may believe there's nothing out there they can possibly do. But there are things that we can do if we have a good understanding of how important it is to know it.
Thank you. That's very good. Yes. What's interesting about futures and options is they're generally used for risk control, right? You don't invest in them per se, okay? It's kind of like if you buy car insurance, right? You're using it to protect yourself in the event that you get in an accident, right? You don't buy it as an investment hoping that you're going to go crash the car to get a payoff, right? So you're using futures and options as a risk reduction tool, not necessarily as an investment. When it comes to into the stock market, then you use that as an investment, not necessarily for risk control, right? So the two markets are very separate. And what's very interesting is that there's the way futures are structured right now, there's unlimited potential. We've never had it go to infinity yet, but theoretically it has unlimited upside, but it also has unlimited downside. And that can be a huge problem. In fact, 2 years ago, when crude oil went negative, you may have remembered that was a big story during that time. And there was a gentleman, I think he was in Toronto or something, he had $77,000 in his account. And by the end of the day, he had lost $9 million. So not only did he lose all of his money, he lost more than all of his money and the house and the wife and the dog too, right? So what we have done is reformulate a futures contract so that it has limited risk, so that the most you can lose is the amount of collateral that you post. And so this guy, if he were all in, right, kind of like on the tables downstairs in Vegas, if he were all in, the most he could lose is the $77,000, not more than that. So that's kind of our claim to fame or our secret sauce or whatever, that how we're going to break into the market. We're going to try and launch these products that try to limit your losses. I mean, the whole reason for futures in the first place is to control risk, and yet that instrument itself doesn't control risk very well. So we're trying to fix that, and we have a crowdfunding platform, and so we're raising capital. We're appealing to strategic investors in the space, and hopefully we can get started. But I'd like to hear more about you. How does somebody actually use your service to get more housing or, better housing or whatever? So maybe you can explain that.
Well, it's really very connected, and this is the reason I'm here, is financials. It's the financial capacity. A lot of times you're over your head and don't realize it because of you're not paying attention to a certain aspect of it. So here's what we tell everyone walking to our office, all of our clients. We want you to understand where you are financially. So let's say if your income is X amount of dollars a year, what is the appropriate amount that you can actually spend towards housing, spend towards gambling? I'm serious. People actually put that on their budget, that they spend $300 a week on the what's the phone, the 5G. I'm gonna throw that in there real quick. The 5G thing that you can do on your phone. You got your 5G and you get on that phone and you can bet, but you have to be able to manage it. And that's where the problem lies. Because if you can't manage everything else besides housing, you're definitely not going to be able to manage your housing. And that's going to be one of the major things that you're going to lose. A lot of times it's the car first, and then after that it's the housing. So, or it's the other way around, really, because you can be in your home and then living in your home. But the point is that housing, we help you understand where you are financially so that you can make the decisions that are necessary to determine, what can I do with my money? How do I want my money to grow? Is my money even growing? And when we're on the phone so much, we're on our computer so much, and there's so much information out there, is that you can always learn more. You can learn more just by getting on there and searching out options, searching out futures, searching out gambling, searching out all the other things that are out there that your money can be spent on. So once we understand what our financial capacity is, then the next question is always going to be, what do I want to do? And how much do I need to do it? So if you're at a certain level with your finances now, how much more money do you have to make in order for you to do what it is you want to do? If you're not thinking about that, and you're only thinking about, I want to buy a home, or I want to buy a car, I'm just so interested in options. If you haven't thought about what your capacity is, they're going to be grave mistakes. So we always start there. Every conversation we have with our clients is centered around their financial capacity. And it always begin and end with that, and it begins and end with, what is it that you want to do? Because you have to keep reaffirming that. And that way your attention is always on, what is my financial capacity and what do I need to do to build it? Once we understand that, now we're able to say, well, you're on a journey. You're on a journey in life financially. And it's going to take you exactly where you steer it to go. And it's up to you. So once you know that you have the wheel, now it gives you the responsibility, right? So I'm actually a HUD certified housing advising agency in the state of Illinois. And with the support of HUD and the Illinois Housing Development Authority, all of my lending partners, they provide us the capability, because we are nonprofit. Did you guys know that? Okay. We're a nonprofit. Why? Because our purpose is to do exactly what we're doing, to help people understand the importance of housing and how important financials are in order for you to obtain and retain that housing for your families. If we can do that in this nation, I believe that we won't have anyone else on the streets. There may be a couple of people that just want to be homeless. We have to really face the facts. There may be people that they really don't want to live in a home. They like to be off the grid. So, but those that do, we want them to have an opportunity to be able to get on a path that will lead them to getting that apartment, then going on and getting that home, then going on and getting investment property, and then going on to the futures. So it's a journey. We believe that we can't do this without our community partners. However, we know that this is so important. No matter what, we're going to believe that people are going to want to help other people to make sure that they at least have an opportunity. So that's why I do what I do. Our community partners are banks, So banks know about money, and they understand how important it is to make sure that the young adults coming up out of college, they go right into the hard housing market on the right foot. Why? Because there'll be less foreclosures. Why? Because we don't want our community's property values dropping because of a number of foreclosures. So all of it kind of connects together. If they have if they're going into it well informed, then they're going to make the right decisions, and then communities will not be pickled throughout the year with foreclosed properties. Every city doesn't have that issue, but I believe every city does somewhere. If you look, it's going to be there. And it doesn't matter what your income is. There are foreclosures. And your property, if it's $3 million, it can be sold for $1 million. What did you just do? You lost $2 million in value in your property. So it is something that we want to focus on. And I have an opportunity through our like I said, through HUD, Illinois Housing Development Authority, and PNC Bank, and Chase Bank, and Bank of America, and Wells Fargo, so that we don't have to charge anybody to even do that. So they're going to save their money so they can work with options and do the other things in life they need to do. So that's what allows us to do what we're doing. I've been in this field since 2009. I'm a real estate broker as well. I also have ran a business called the Closing Center, because time is money too. Remember what I said, we show them the importance of saving and how to save more. Your job is to continue to always find ways to save. And if we find ways to save, then we're going to be ready for these crises that hit. Nobody saw this coming. Well, I won't say nobody. We're not going to get political, but no one understood how bad this crisis was going to be that was going to shut us down for a whole year. So we work with individuals to get them back on the path to the point where they can have their housing secured, and then get to a point where they're able to now invest and participate in options if that's what they want to do, and use the technology out there that will allow them to stay up to date and to allow them to educate themselves. It's not up to anyone to educate you. It's your responsibility to become educated about what your interests are, or what is directly going to allow you or assist you with doing what you need to accomplish.
One question I had for you, let's suppose that you're working at, I don't know, a minimum wage job, so to speak. You're not earning a lot of money. Mm-hmm. How do you get into investing in real estate and that kind of thing? Because you need capital to start, etc. And by the time you just pay your rent on your little 1-bedroom apartment or mm-hmm. whatever, it's very difficult for somebody to get going. So is there a program with you or somebody else that you help them to try and buy their first place and get them, quote, off the street, or into something where they have a future, not just keep paying rent to a landlord?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And remember, it doesn't matter what your income is. It's not that you don't have enough money. It's that life happens. And sometimes it can catch anybody off guard. Sure. It really doesn't matter what your income is. You can be caught off guard, and the stock markets can belly out and take everything. The guy that would maybe lose with the 7 million or whatever, he didn't expect that. So now you're starting from square one. But it's really focusing on a mental acknowledgement of the fact that you're responsible for your financial growth. And there has to be a plan and a strategy for your financial growth, whoever you are and whatever you're trying to do. So if you're in a 1-bedroom and you have 5 children, you need something bigger than a 1-bedroom. We help you plot a course and get you on a path that will say, this is what needs to be done, and you could get there. You can actually obtain a 5-bedroom unit or a house. You can use the strategies of building your credit and building your savings. How do I build my savings? You use decision making to build your savings. It's all decisions. Should I do this or should I do that? So I had one client that called me at my office, and she was at the grocery store, and she said, I filled my basket up. I just went through the store and I got with everything, so on and so forth. And she got to the counter and she said, I remembered what you shared with me in one of our sessions. And it was, is this a want or is this a need? And she looked at her basket and she started thinking about that. And she said, I went through it and half the stuff went back. So a lot of times it's not whether or not we make enough money. It's whether or not we understand our responsibility to build our finances and to make the right decisions financially. And we have to make sure that we're bringing factor everything in. Do you realize over 54% of the people that lost their homes during this crisis, during the prior crisis, I don't have the numbers for this one yet, but during the crisis before that started in 2008, you guys didn't forget about that one, did you? They lost their homes because they made the decision that caused them to lose their home too. So sometimes there's a family member that became ill and you quit your job. Well, that definitely was the wrong decision, because now not only did you lose your home where you were staying or apartment, mom lost her home also. And that has happened, and it happens so often, it just kind of scared me for a while, but we just had to keep going. My point being, when we talk about affordable housing relates to $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million. It still requires you to know what is your financial capacity based on what it is you're trying to accomplish and your financial capacity. Are you able to pay for everything on time that you promised you would pay on time? And if you can't, then you have now made a decision that's going to set you off course. And once you get off course, it's hard to get back on course, but you can. So the financial capacity is really the key. I look at affordable housing, affordable investing, affordable eating, affordable shopping, groceries, everything that's on your budget. And I like to call it a financial blueprint. I don't like to call it a budget because people don't like budgets, but you have to have a budget in order to do anything successfully. So with that financial blueprint, you're able to make better financial decisions. 85% of the people that we counsel don't even use a budget. They don't know how to manage a budget. So we have to master that. And when we master it, I believe that the key is if you're a millionaire because you knew where every single dollar went. Every single penny went. And you made a decision where it was going to go. So everyone has affordable housing issue to deal with. Everyone. And it's not just, is it in my price range? It's whether or not your life will support it. Because how many people wrote a budget and forgot to put mom and dad on it? Forgot to put that nephew that you promised a car when you were going to go to college. When he was going to go to college, you promised him a car. How many people put that in their budget? When do they put it in their budget? When they're actually getting ready to go get the car. So if you don't have the finances and the cash or the credit or whatever to do it, you have to plan. But even if you have the money to do it, you still have to plan because you got to set that aside. Why? Because it was a promise. How many people left their mom and dads off of their budget? I had a dad that was 85 and he became ill. Well, he said, when I get ill, I need to live with you. So did I plan financially for my parent to live with me? Do I even have room in the home I decided to purchase? All of these things lead to the ability of your being able to do what you want to do financially. Housing is just a part of it, but it's a big part of it, and it should be at the top. Because if you do have a place where you can lay down and rest and close your eyes, you can tackle everything else. Everything else is a breeze. Yes, it might be a challenging breeze. but it's still something that you can accomplish because you do not have to worry about where you can lay down, close your eyes peacefully, and then get up refreshed and ready for the world. So our job is to make sure that you know what your responsibility is individually, is financial capacity, understanding, knowing where it is, and to know what you can afford. Because you have to keep in that financial blueprint saving. So a lot of times we are making decisions that are causing us to not be able to save. All of it's going to the car note. All of it's going to the house. All of it's going to being able to take care of the children. All of it's going to the extracurricular activities that we do. But we have no line item on our budget that says saving, and for what? When we put that focus on that, we're able to pull out that one sheet of paper on the computer, because that's what we do now, and we're able to say, okay, I can move some things around because I want to help my nephew to be able to go to college, or I want to help my son. He wants to open up a business, and he just has a knack for doing something. He has this natural gift. I want to help him with it. How are you going to help him with it if you have not included it in your life? And the way you do it is financially, because money answers all things.
Well,
Well,
almost.
see, you should have asked me.
So let me, for those that aren't familiar with like what futures or options are good for, let me first start with it's not gambling, right? When the difference there between a speculator and a gambler, being in Vegas, I think that's an appropriate thing to talk about. The risk to your money doesn't exist until you lay it on the table down here, but the risk still exists to, say, a farmer growing corn or, a miner digging for gold or whatever. The price of gold changes. And so they use the market to hedge that price. Okay, makes sense. But who's on the other side? The other side is generally a speculator. So we need speculators in our market to take on the risk that the hedgers are not willing to assume. And let's suppose you're a farmer and you need a new tractor, okay? One way you can do that is go to the bank and borrow the money, and the bank will often tell you, okay, we'll lend you the money for the tractor that you need to grow your crop and to harvest it or whatever, but we're going to require you to hedge that production in the futures market to lock in a price so that I know come September when your crop is all grown and harvested that you'll be able to get that certain price for your commodity. And so, in fact, many times the banks will force you to get to hedge in the markets to do that. So that's pretty much a real good use case for why commodities and derivatives and futures exist in the first place. And they're a massive market and very used, as I said, around the world.
So farming does touch every life. I have a question. What happens with someone that, let's say, gets involved with futures, and let's say they do have a loss, they do start over, but what is the likelihood of them going back into it?
You mean as a speculator or a hedger?
A hedger.
Well, that's an interesting question because, I guess you need some capital to hedge with, because of the way it's structured. But in general, like for my farmer example, where he's trying to buy a tractor so he could actually, harvest the crop that he's growing, right? The bank will lend him the money, not only for the tractor, but for the hedging program as well. And there's a whole I won't get into that because it's kind of detailed, but he would need some money as collateral for this hedging program. And so if he's really short, the bank could, and often do, they would lend against that. Long as they know that the price is secure, that as come September, they're going to get money for the farmer will get money for his crops, and then he'll be able to pay back the loan and hopefully have a profit. And in fact, the profit probably should be built in already because you're going to know where you're locking in the price.
So I would like to know in the audience, how many people have ever been involved in futures or options? One?
One guy.
Okay. So it's probably,
One person.
so we go back to the fact that, information is important, and I believe what we're trying to do from two different spectrums is to just put out there the value and the importance of the technology out here to get to a point where we're able to look further than today. We're able to, go to a point where we know that there's something out there called the options, called futures. There's something out there that is going to help me become a well-informed homeowner or an investor in real estate. There's something out there that's going to make sure that I'm able to not just buy a home for today, but buy a home for tomorrow. Not only work with options for today and futures for today, but what about tomorrow? I believe a lot of times things we do, it's only based on right now. The technology we have today allows us to go further. It allows us to connect with things that we might not understand right now or don't see how it actually can affect our lives. But if that farmer doesn't get that hedge fund going, if he doesn't get what he needs to start over, that farmer is gone, which means we're going to have some issues with corn, or we're going to have some issues with gold, or we're going to have some issues with something. We're going to be paying more, even as a consumer. So getting to the point where we use this technology to our best advantage is really what we have set in our plate right now, because technology is changing and growing, and it's allowing us to do much, much, much more. You can forecast your finances well into the future just by going on the internet and connecting. We are not experts in that area, but we are expert in one area, and that is the importance of knowing what you're doing. And if we have a resource such as the internet, then we have to use that. We have to use it so that we are preparing for the future. Half of my day is preparing for today. The other half of my day is preparing for tomorrow. And when I do that, I feel more prepared. I feel more in control of what I'm trying to do because I'm already prepared for tomorrow. And I go as far in the future as I can, and I bring in my whole life. I bring in my family, I bring in my friends, I bring in my hopes, I bring in my dreams. I bring in everything because all of it's going to impact what you're trying to accomplish. So I believe we have kind of took their interest a little bit. What do you think, Robert?
I hope so. But your future scenario is our business, right? Yes. I mean, it's all about the future, right? You're trying to predict the future. You're trying to forecast the future and prepare for the future.
Yes. Right? So are there any questions? Guess we can open it up. We have a few more minutes. If there's any questions whatsoever, if not, we can send you a link to an internet to find out. Pardon?
It's okay. That's all.
I guess.
Yeah,
we have about 12 more minutes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I missed the beginning part of the talk, and I wasn't sure what all the future financial services were laid out because I heard about options and future contracts. I wasn't sure if there was other ways of protecting your investment for the future.
Yes. Is it a way to?
Are there other besides, like, let's say you had you invested, you're an investor. and you wanted to protect your portfolio of assets. So one way was to invest in futures or in options trading, doing trade.
Right. Okay, so in my original example of a farmer growing corn, let's say, right, he's hedging his production for September when the corn actually is grown and ready to harvest, right? Similarly with your portfolio, if you have a portfolio of stocks and you say, look, I'm really concerned about the Fed raising interest rates, I think the market's going to fall, I want to be protected, right? One way of protecting yourself is to get out, right? Liquidate all your stocks, put it into cash, and okay, if the market falls, I'm golden, I'm good. But another way is very simple, which is just to sell a futures contract. Okay, you could still keep your stocks for long-term tax planning or whatever kind of reason that you want to hold stocks, but you're concerned about the nearby or near-term drop in the market. You then sell futures and it hedges your portfolio. It essentially takes you out of the market. So many portfolio managers, a lot of the institutions that manage your portfolio, they use futures and options to hedge their risks when they see, let's say, storm clouds on the horizon kind of thing. When they're forecasting that things could be bad, they'll want to use our products. And like I said in the beginning, which I think you came in a little bit late, I'm not sure, but in the very beginning I was saying that our markets are used for risk control rather than an investment, right? You don't buy, as I was saying, you don't buy car insurance hoping to get in a car wreck so that your insurance pays off, right? You're buying it to control your risk because you're saying, hey, look, I can't afford my $50,000 car to get in a wreck and then I got to go buy a new one, right? It just can't afford a $50,000 hit like that. So I'm going to buy insurance and protect myself. And it's very similar with futures and options. You use it not necessarily to make money per se, but you're using it to protect your money.
Okay, I see this as those risk-averse, like risk control products. But would you say this time, during this crisis and moving forward, that the opportunities for investment or protecting what you have are better or worse or are going to change in the near term? Because I think it's a good time always maybe to add to your investments, but where we are now, moving to future, would you say that's a good opportunity to increase investment or a better opportunity to control risk?
So I'd have to defer that question, and that's because I'm not an RIA, a registered investment advisor. In other words, I'm not here to give you advice or to protect your portfolio. I'm just here really to educate and say that these markets are available for you to use if you want to. But what I would suggest you do is, if you're concerned about, the future of the world, of the stock market, that you could either learn about these markets to use them to hedge, or consult your financial advisor on steps you can take to certainly try to mitigate those, but maybe even profit from what you see coming up, right?
And may I add, there may be, I love educate. I'm an educator. I'm not a teacher, but I'm an educator because I love sharing information. But it's really important too for you to know. God bless you. If you are interested in protecting yourself, the best form and way to protect yourself is for you to learn about it. And in addition to connecting with your advisor. Because when you know about it, then you can kind of match and ask questions, and that just helps you be more prepared to make the decisions that you need to make. So just see if there's a study group on whatever area of investment that you're in, and see if there's a study group. They're all online. they're out there and they just talk about it and they share information, and then you also have your advisors on the other side, and you're able to now put those two together. You should be able to make sound decisions.
Okay.
Because I love my study group.
I guess next question is for you, since you're involved in real estate and mortgage.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
And like educating folks about their mortgages or selling homes.
Yes.
Do you promote like futures contracts and mortgages?
No, we don't promote that. We just promote education. If they have an interest in that, we connect them. We make sure they understand the professionals that are out there that they need to connect with. We don't say this is what you should do. We say you want a home to live in. Now your next step will be financial. That's on a different level. Because it's a journey. You have to start with a secure home and a place to live, and then you can use that home to build your financial capacity as well. But you have to know how to do that. The value in your home becomes an asset for you. And you can use that asset to go all in that stock market, but you better know what you're doing, and you want to have the right direction to go for your asset. Okay, because once you pay the house off, that's a pure asset. Thank you. Any other questions, inquiries, curiosities?
Okay.
Okay, well, we thank you for
very
joining
much.
us. Robert, it's been a joy.
Thank you, Mary. You too.
I'm looking to learn some more from you.
Great.